Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to part two of Truth Revealed. We're going to get right into it. This is going to be a very condensed version, very to the point. I'm going to share a couple quick thoughts with you. We originally had a recorded video, and last minute situations arose, or actually advice came to me from legal counsel, and that I should, some of the things that I had exposed in that video might be relevant in some upcoming proceedings. And so when I got on Facebook and did that, I'd had about a 40-minute, 40-minute notice that I was going to have to do it that way. And I wanted to get on and do something because everybody was expecting it. So I do want to apologize for being discombobulated last time, but I promise you that this information here is going to be directed to the point. And there will be some questions that need to be answered, right? And I'm going to be tough, be direct, and that's really what the people of Keokuk need to do. And I've gotten a lot of messages, just overwhelming of support. I appreciate it just so much, and I know that we're together, one team, one dream. We all know that there's been a lot of things for a long time that haven't been right, and it's up to us to fix it. And I'm more than happy to lead that charge. And believe you me, this is just the beginning, right? So, of course, the title is Fuzzy Math, right? Numbers don't lie, but liars use numbers. And this is the case. We're in a very unique time because we have an opportunity to right some wrongs and correct a ship that has been headed in the wrong direction for a long time. But in order to do that, people have to be armed with facts, right? So I'm going to hit you with some facts in this video here. We're going to keep it real short, but before that, I want to recap part one and just put into perspective, right? Really where we're at, right? The nuts and bolts that lead into this part two. So real quick, I talked about the fact of having an interim superintendent with a 2-year contract, right? Which I misspelled interim there, looks like, but that's okay. So anyway, this interim contract for 2 years. Now you're the new superintendent has a 2-year contract. So this basically, I mean, it's actually a year and 10 months by the time he'll all be said and done. And so here's the point I wanted to make, and the point I've made in the last video. Over $400,000 in combined salary and benefits paid out over this time frame to this interim superintendent, who's been allowed to spend thousands of your taxpayer dollars for personal and professional development, including trips to Texas and California, yet failed to submit a bond budget initiative or take any measurable actions to address the urgent needs in the district. So while he's doing all that stuff, being allowed to do that, see, it's not just him, right? You got to be allowed to do that. While in the meantime, we have an unusable track, multiple sites in the district, district wide, with deficiencies rendering them ADA non-compliant and potential safety hazards. Like, these things are not debatable things, right? Like, this isn't pie in the sky. You all see with your own eyes, right? And before I get into the nuts and bolts of what I want to hit today, I want to challenge this school of thought out there, right? This school of thought is that somebody has to be an expert in education, or we should trust the people with the degree behind their name, or that's been they've been on the board for a long time and they know everything. Look, right? Uh, just because you don't have a background in something doesn't mean that you can't be educated in something. Okay. Because as I said before, there are many people who, an education means you have information. You've been educated on something, but you can have the wrong information, right? But there's a difference between education and intelligence. And you must have intelligence to properly use that information, and then have integrity to not use the knowledge that you have to mislead others and do disingenuous things. So that's why we're here, right? And so I'm just going to hit a couple of things here. There are a couple other narratives out there that this video will completely knock out of the park. Okay, those narratives are that you need to come to a school board meeting. So you'll come to you're criticizing and you guys don't come to meetings. Let me tell you something, people, Keokuk. You don't need to come or go to a board meeting to know and see that something's screwed up. That's why you elected the board members to go to the doggone board meetings and fix the things that you're telling them are wrong. All right. Could you imagine, right? Your I don't know, your congressman, right? Or the governor, or yeah, imagine that. Imagine that, the governor of the state of Iowa, right? Telling people, well, if you don't like where your taxes are at, then you need to come to the next committee meeting in the state house. It's not how it works. Okay. You're elected to do a job, and you're supposed to listen to the people, right, and convey their needs. And the primary person who's responsible for that is the superintendent, right? And so what I hit on last time is that he's not there enough to hear people 2 to 3 days a week, right? By all accounts. Okay. He lives here in Des Moines. All right. So the other thing was, over that time frame, you had 49 faculty members, administrators, either forced position shifts or resignations, right? Why is that happen? Right? You're in your fifth superintendent in 9 years, including interims. Okay. So there's a challenge with this school of thought about, let's just trust the experts. Okay. So truth isn't found in a title, right? So what I want you to understand is this, is that you're smart enough to know when something isn't right. And just because you're not the quote unquote certified expert doesn't mean that you don't have correct information on the right point of view. For example, I deal with insurance and investments and all that sort of stuff, right? So I don't make a whole bunch of money, and I'm from little old Keokuk, Iowa. I live in West Des Moines with my wife and kids, So if you were hiring an investment advisor, right, and you had the choice between me, right, or a guy who is highly educated from University of Alabama, Hofstra, Brooklyn Law School, was chairman of the NASDAQ, right, has a personal net worth of $5 billion and philanthropic giving of over $50 million. Most people, if they had an opportunity and it wasn't costing them a dime difference either way, they're probably going to give pretty good look at that gentleman right there, right, based on the title and all the accolades on the resume, right? If you were to do that, you would have got taken in the largest ripoff in history. That's right. All those things are on the resume of Bernie Madoff. You know what else is on his resume now? Investment advisor fraud, mail fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, false statements, perjury, making false filings, theft from an employee benefit plan. He was the mastermind of the largest Ponzi scheme in history, he stole over $64 billion, almost $65 billion of people's money, and ruined their lives. Now, if the little old lady or little old Shad were to step up, and I definitely don't have the knowledge that Bernie Madoff has, but I know that 2 plus 2 does not equal 11. And I have the right to question that, right? And if you can't answer it and I don't feel good with your answer, then that's not okay. So the people of Keokuk, you have the right to demand that this board be accountable, right? And there's several people on the board that I believe are good people and good-hearted people who've probably been misled and manipulated, right? But then there are people who know exactly what they're doing, right? So we're going to expose, by the time everything's said and done, we'll expose the Bernie Madoffs, right? And they'll have their day. Okay. So, the Bernie Madoffs of the world, who are super, super smart, they want to use the complex system behind what they're doing and not justify their actions. They want to tell you, look, school funding is too complicated for you to understand. And when you look at this diagram, honestly, they're right. It is complicated, but their job is to uncomplicate it and break it down so you can understand it. Well, that's what I'm going to do today, right? Very briefly, just enough to let you know that there have been 3 lies told to you. One, that is too complicated. It doesn't have to be. 2, right, that you wouldn't understand it, and you need to come to a meeting to figure it out. And 3, that for all these things you're wanting, we don't have enough money. That's always been the big thing for all the people reaching out to me in the messages and things like that. They're always told by the board, right, and certain individuals on the board, that there's not enough money. Well, after today, it's going to be just extremely crystal clear to all of you that you've been lied to. and you're going to have the ammunition to go hold these people accountable. Like, okay, there's money. So it's not a difference. It's not about that about not being able to. It's about not being want to, or not wanting to. Okay, not being want to. Right. So anyway, right. So here's the simplicity of it. I spoke about this last time, right? And we're gonna go like in depth a little on not in depth, but just enough so you can understand school funding and how it works. I'm gonna hit um the last that bond that failed in 2021 and just show you how disingenuous um the perception that was put out by certain people was. It's going to give you a chance to ask some questions, right? So here's the deal. A bond, there's a couple different ways that you can look at school funding, but this is the most simple way. You have debt, meaning it would be like a mortgage, that's a bond. And then you have money that comes in through property tax revenue from state government, that whole 9 yards. Okay. So I spoke about last time, if you have a mortgage, if you're looking to get a house and you get a mortgage on it, okay, that's a good thing because that means you have available cash flow freed up. And I asked, how smart do you think it would be if you're buying $100,000 house and you had $100,000 to your name in your checking account, and you just went and wrote a check for the house? Now you have no money to fix the leaky roof, no money, right, to do any repairs, no emergency funds or anything. Now, am I suggesting that you should fully borrow all the money? No, you should put some money down. And that's what most people do, right? Is you put money down when you get a house and you budget for other things. That way you have operating capital. Well, school districts are exactly like that, right? There's a balance. And if you are not careful, okay, you can be misled into thinking that it's mutually exclusive. You do one or the other for certain things. So let me dispel the myth about, first of all, that, well, we don't have money for that, and we can't take money from here to there. That is partially correct, but not fully correct. Okay. So here's what I mean. We're gonna go here, and I'm gonna share with you really how this works. Okay, this is not what I was trying to share. All right, hold on here. Sorry. We will get back to where we need to be. Right here. Just a second. My screen's not cooperating with me here. All right. These are different board minutes. That's not what I wanted. Where is this at? Sorry, guys. Just bear with me. I'm trying to get my right screen to pop up here. No, we don't want to close that. I want to open it. Hold on just a moment here. Apologize. I'll open this back up. See if I can do it this way. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. All right, so this here will show you just a little bit. So you have your general fund, you have what's called PEPAL, which is your levy for, it tells you right here, for small capital improvements, real property and equipment, facility maintenance. You have your save dollars, which that is a term that you've heard me use before. So that's from this 1% state sales tax. That money that comes in from all over the state, you get your portion. Then you have your general fund, right? So a lot of times you'll hear, well, and it is true, money goes in different buckets, right? But here's something that will blow everything out of the water that I want to share up front. The school district has the ability to request from you the permission, right, to redesignate what they can use for, to come, out of certain funds. So the general fund, the PEPAL, and the SAVE, they can do file what's called basically a revenue classification statement. That's not the exact a revenue like reclassification to get permission to use the money that's coming out of this account for certain things. So what I'm saying is, if they were trying to tell you there wasn't enough money for the track or to repair the football stadium, and you say, well, hey, there's $1 million in the general fund, it says over here, or $1 million in that save, and they say, oh, we can't use that. Well, it's very, very easy for them to go to the voters, they put it on the ballot and say, hey, we want your permission to redesignate funds or to use funds from this bucket of money to do these repairs. How do I know that to be fact? Well, first of all, it's state law, but let's just find an example. Here's one for you. You may have heard of this school here, North Polk. North Polk. I think we have somebody from North Polk in our district now, but back in 2019, so this is North Polk, they put on their website, they use SAVE funds, right? So I'll just read it to you. They wanted to thank all the people who voted in the election in 2019. They had a different superintendent then. That will allow us to meet the needs for technology projects and meet the needs of our growing district. The passing of the new revenue purpose statement, that's what it is, revenue purpose statement, does not impact the taxation on residents, but allows the district to access future SAVE funds made possible through that penny sales tax, right? So then it just kind of tells you, a little bit about what they all plan to do with the money. So that's really great. They're very, very transparent in their district. So they had on the whole website, this whole thing breaking it down for you, right? So this was in 2019. And they showed here's what the purpose is, right? What are they going to use it for? Well, they wanted to do renovations at the middle school and a couple elementary schools. They wanted technology infrastructure in this to use for this. They wanted to construct outdoor activities facilities and tennis courts, wastewater treatment, and roof repairs. Okay, so real quick, and there's other stuff in here. So my point being, okay, that it is an absolute lie for anybody to tell you that we don't have the money. Hypothetically speaking, if you didn't have the money, you can generate the money. All right. How do you generate the money? Where can that money come from? Well, there's a couple different places, right? You have your PEPAL fund we talked about. You have your general fund, and then those SAVE dollars. So if there's a need, there's 3 different places that you could pull that from. On top of that, if you can't do it all at once, you can earmark future money, right? Like, set aside this much for next year, this much for the year after that, right? So if you know that there's a problem now and you, let's say, don't have enough money to handle it all now, it would be very, very responsible of you to budget for it, right? So if you knew at least a couple years in advance, well, what if you knew, okay, like 13 years in advance? So I went over this last time, just going to hit it quickly, okay? November of 2009, there was a facilities committee put together. And I'm not going to go through all this, is all online. I'll share it with you guys, but I just want to hit, some of the points here is that they talked about when they got to Calvert Stadium, they said that this was a priority. It was first used in 1964. So they resurfaced the track in 2007. Resurfacing a track is like putting a Band-Aid on it. Well, eventually you're going to have to take care of it. So that was a patchwork, right? But the original track was laid, the foundation was laid in 1964. Right? At that point in time, it had been 45 years. And they talked about the fact that it was not compliant. It was a safety risk, how close certain things were to the field grates, and long jumps being too close to the pits were too close to the field of play. People on the football team, get hit out of bounds, it could get hurt. There's a lot of needs for it, but they talked about the sprinkler heads and all that sort of stuff rusting out. And they gave their suggestions, right? But all the things about the press box, right here, the press box, the concession stands, the grandstands, right? And how unsafe it was, right? Lack of space, They talked about the hazards to pedestrian traffic. Okay. And so they just talked about how dangerous it was, and also though, um, gave recommendations on what should be done. All right. So here's the thing: all these safety concerns and all this degeneration of facilities has been known for a very long time, yet nothing was done. So don't let anybody tell you that out of a $37 million a year budget that money couldn't be earmarked. It's about priorities. Okay. So and then the other thing is that, like I said, you could bond for it. And so we're going to get into here real quick, the bond and why it failed in 2021. It's because the priorities were backwards, right? So I'm going to show you now that you know that they could have had, we had the money. It's about choices. And in this facilities report from the architectural firm that was putting it together, it's very, very clear that what the district's priorities were. And it's just very, very telling. Okay. So in this assessment, 2021, here's how they broke it down, right? So the biggest thing that I think a lot of people were up in arms about was $17 million for a brand new elementary school that I'll prove to you, based off this very assessment, was not needed and should never have been a priority. But it was somebody's individual priority, right? It was maybe a group of people, but mainly somebody's individual priority that was pushing for this. Okay. So look at that, $17 million. And we'll get into why that was a fictitious number as well. But the big deal is here, like I said, I started all this because I was frustrated about the stadium and the track and everything. And so the stadium and the track was never a priority. What do you mean, Shad? It's on there. Okay, first thing is $1.4 million. Second thing is, when you look here, the construction wasn't even set to start until 2025. Guys, that's 2 years from now. So let me get this straight. 13 years ago, you knew that these things were in the tank. And 13 years ago, this same architectural firm, which, just for time's sake, I'm not gonna bring it up. I'll post it. I'll post the link, but I want to get through this quickly. This same architectural firm did an assessment and confirmed everything the facilities committee said then. It could have had a brand new synthetic track or brand new synthetic football field and practice field for the band. All that for a little over $1 million. And they told you why you needed it, but it was ignored. So you knew that 13 years ago. There was also another assessment done in 2015, and then this one done in 2021, and you were going to put it off another 2 years. But here is the telltale little secret. Not only were they putting it off another 2 years, what they were putting off another 2 years, and this is gonna tick some of you off. What they were putting off another 2 years wasn't even addressing the most serious things that were wrong. Take a look at this. Okay. So what they wanted to do, and I'm going to go back because this is what they wanted to do. Is this the right? I'm skipping ahead and then I'll go back. Oops, sorry. Let me go back here. Got myself out of turn. So let's go back. I think this is the one I wanted. Yep. All right. So check this out. The things that they were going to do to Calvert Stadium did not even address the track or the field. It didn't even fully address all of the structural issues. What were they doing? Reviewing the routes from the ticket booths, replace the home side stadium upper bleachers, right? Not the lower ones, just the upper ones. Press box, and they're going to do the restrooms, which still haven't been done. And replace the electrical panel enclosure. That's it. So let me ask you a question. First of all, I just want to know how you can even explain that away, right? Secondly, I don't need to go to a school board meeting and sit through 3 hours of a bunch of talk, right, to know that my board is not addressing the priorities correctly and assessing that these things are safety issues and hazards. And not only that, you're actually costing the district money. The facilities report in 2009 talked about how that outdated sprinkler system was costing like I think it was like $5,000 a month or something crazy in wasted water. Right? Sorry, it was wasting 5,000 gallons of water a month. 5,000 gallons of water a month, right? Which I don't know how much that costs, but regardless, right? That the football field itself would cause injuries because the surface was unlevel. All these things that they knew 13 years ago. All right, so getting into why the bond failed again. So just a couple quick things here that you guys need to be questioning. Check this out. They wanted to build this whole brand new they wanted to build the performing arts building was the #1 priority. And then they said they were overcrowding at George Washington, but it wasn't really overcrowded. It just said, because if you read on, it says they do not have dedicated rooms for music and art. These activities have to take place in regular classrooms, and it's awkward to move the stuff and disrupt, blah, blah, blah. I get that. So here's my thing. Why would we need a whole new elementary school for that? Again, I ain't a financial genius, and I'm not a construction guy, but if I need a music and art room, I'd build a music and art room. There were also other renovations that did need to be done. So do the renovations to the current facility, which amount to about $3 million, according to this assessment. And add on an art room and and art music and you're done. Okay. All right. So the decision to close Torrance, which they moved the pre-K to Hawthorne, would have cost about $175,000. All right. In the assessment, they give us this here. They say at George Washington, here is another thing that should stand out to you. At George Washington, to build just a separate building to house the third graders was $10.6 million. But you're going to build an entire new school for third, fourth, and fifth. They were going to bring the third grade from Hawthorne. Why would you do that? Because in this assessment, Hawthorne was only 2 classrooms short. They added 5 or 4 classrooms and like a computer lab or something to Hawthorne in 2011 for like 1.5 million. So even if you add 40% inflation, so you'd have done that for 2 or 3 million, right? Which wouldn't have been that. But I'm just saying, are you seeing are you picking up what I'm putting down? So why is it here? How is it possible that you could build a building for $17 million that's going to house 3 grades, but it would only be but it's $10 million to house 1 grade? There's fuzzy math there. So either this number should be 30 million or this number should be like 4 million. And I remind you, you just built an 8,000 square foot music addition, 8,000 square feet, which would house probably about 5 classrooms for $4.5 million. None of this makes any sense. None of it makes any sense. The other thing is the 17 million number doesn't even include a site because they didn't even have land. That was another big part that people called out, was the fact, like, how can you just say 17 million and you don't even have a site picked out for us? And one of the gripes from the city was as well, or the additions to the city. I spoke to some people at the city and they're like, yeah, you know what else that doesn't include? If the site they picked out didn't have proper roads, sewer, and water, it would have cost millions of dollars to add that as well. So how disingenuous is this number? Right? Who's setting these priorities? Next, the last thing I'll hit is the fact that even the site assessment, this is the site assessment from the architectural firm. So when you look at the high school, there's all these deficiencies, significant deficiencies at the high school, many significant and moderate deficiencies at the middle school, right? Um, all of those things were known in and before they did that 2021 bond, but yet those things weren't addressed as the priority. Why not? Don't let anybody tell you, oh, you don't understand school financing, or you don't understand that. No, we clearly understand that your priorities and the priorities and the needs of the district are completely out of whack. And sending out a survey doesn't do it. I'd like to know how that superintendent at North Polk in 2019 got all that done. We should find that guy and ask him. Okay. So to recap this, you've been hoodwinked. You've been took, uh, you know, run amok, ran astray, bamboozled. Okay. I'm not trying to sound like Malcolm X, but hey, look, these are the things. This is just the tip of the iceberg, guys. There's so much that I've uncovered. It's just stupid. And I tell you what else is stupid. What else is stupid is for this board to get it to continuously get away. And it's not about, let me just rephrase. I'm not attacking individual people. Well, there are a couple, but the majority of this board, it's the board speaks as one, right? And I'm going to do another video on the responsibilities of the board, because that's one thing that I don't even think some of the board members understand. Right? I really don't. Right? And trust me, I'm not saying that I'm God's gift to understanding, school board operations and school financing, but I know quite a bit. I know enough to understand when something's not right. And I've got access to enough people who are experts to confirm what I'm saying before I say it. Right? So let's not push the buck down the road, right? Let's not sit here and act like nothing's wrong. If you're on the board and you really want to fix these things, you need to start holding board leadership and your superintendent accountable. I know we got a new superintendent now. We got one on the way out, but the one on the way out should have a lot to answer for before he leaves. And the people who've authorized him to do the things that he's done, right? Not taking care of the responsibilities of the district, the urgent needs in the district, right? Unacceptable. So listen, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I am going to post a link with all the PDFs of this. Actually, I'll just show you right now real quick. You go to the school board, the school district website. Okay. And you get into this thing that says reports to the community. Okay. Those site assessments that I was telling you about, you can read them all, right? Part 1 and 2 from 2010. Okay. And then I would encourage you to as well, start educating yourself on, and asking questions on protocols and budgets and all those sort of things, right? Look that stuff up. It's all public information. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and post this. This is just a condensed kind of version of what I went through last time. Look, these are all real numbers. This is all real information. This is all verifiable, right? There's been more than enough money. You've been lied to. You've been misled. And I'm not saying that every board member is purposely lied to you. What I'm saying is that the message that is coming out is a disingenuous one that is being orchestrated by specific people. So the good board members need to have a backbone and take a stand. Right? That's what your community needs. Right? And you can call me anytime. I'm not against you. You can call me and ask me, hey, what is it that you think you know? What about? Hey, I'll gladly tell you where you're running amok. But Keokuk deserves better, and they're going to get better. And the truth, all the entire truth is going to be, so clear, right? I wish I could tell you guys everything, but I can't. But well, you'll all know why, right? And then we'll stand together. This isn't about a personal attack on anybody. This is about if you are a part of wrongdoing, it's not about you. I don't wish ill will on anybody. I view everybody as a child of God, and I hope if anybody who does wrong that they find right, that they find redemption and God's grace and mercy. I truly do. But that doesn't mean that we let these people continue to get away with the things that are doing, right? We have facilities where children can be hurt. Why, while board is allowing an interim superintendent to stay for 2 years without even searching for anybody to the last few months? Why? These are questions you need to ask. Why is this person doing personal development on taxpayer dollars and flying all over the doggone country when they're not staying and putting that knowledge back into our district? Why are we spending $14,000 for hurdles on a track we can't run on? Why are we spending $250,000 on a new technology upgrade and almost $250,000 on new Chromebooks that aren't needed right now? Yes, those things are real. I got the board minutes back it. Everything I'm telling you is, 30 something thousand dollars on new office furniture for the dang district headquarters. Are you kidding me? It's time that leadership be held accountable. Stop treating people like they're stupid, and let come together, and actually listen and follow, the will of the people and make this right. So yes, I'm frustrated. I'm past the point of frustration, but I know all of you are too. I'm in this fight with you, and I will have more videos coming with more details on sections, but it'll be very limited. But I definitely want to do a couple videos on community next steps and what you could do to get involved, right? And how this all looks. All right. So thank you all. I hope you all are well. God bless you. God bless Keokuk, and God bless the state of Iowa. God bless the United States of America. Have a great night.